Jane Heenan.
Superintendent Skorkowski, President Young, trustees. My name is Jane Heenan. I'm a marriage and family therapist in private practice and co-director of Gender Justice Nevada. I want to first express my expectations that CCSD implement inclusive policy regarding transgender, gender nonconforming, intersex students that follows state and federal law, that CCSD evaluate the readiness of individual schools to implement this policy and develop meaningful strategies based on this evidence to support each school, and that CCSD would have a long-term plan in place to continue to monitor, evaluate, and support individual schools about these things. The expectations I state are in line with what is already happening at many schools around the country, such as in Washoe County. In February 2015, they introduced inclusive policy. Their Chief General Counsel, Randy Drake, said, federal law requires that our schools' policies and practices are inclusive and respectful of all students, including transgender students. I would also like to tell you some things about my experience as a transgender queer person. My experiences mirror closely those of hundreds of trans, intersex, and gender nonconforming folks that I've had the privilege of sitting with over 20 years. I knew I was different from a very young age, maybe 4 or 5 years old. I knew it wasn't safe for me to express these differences in a hostile world, so I suffered in silence, terrified of things like Halloween because my sister would want to dress me up as a girl. I started developing symptoms of depression when I was 8. I couldn't tell anyone and suffered in silence. I started drinking at a very young age, 12 or 13, so that I could be around other persons in social settings and fit in while silencing the pain I felt. I am twice a survivor of sexual violence. I believe I was targeted by sexual predators because they recognized the weakness that came from my silence. One of my perpetrators was a teacher at school, a priest who befriended me and groomed me over many years. Throughout my adolescence and young adulthood, I acted recklessly and illegally in many ways. Breaking and entering, stealing cars, drinking and driving, I was screaming in silence about being trapped in a world that wouldn't see me. I would honestly tell you that I can't believe I am still alive and not incarcerated. Persons like me often feel alone, with little or no trust in others or in institutions like schools, and we are terrified that persons would find us out. And yet that is what we want most, to be seen, to be understood, to be loved for who we are, just like all human beings. You may not believe me when I tell you this, and there are between 10,000 and 35,000 students, transgender, intersex, and gender nonconforming students in CCSD schools. Most are hidden like I was. Your silence about these things mirrors the silence which traps most of us during our school years, and yet some of us are here today, young persons and parents, teachers, and families. We hope you will hear our stories. We hope you will remember our faces, and we expect you to break your silence to support our honest needs.
Thank you very much, Ms. Heenan.
Alexander.
Madam President, Superintendent Skorkowski, members of the board, thank you for your attention. For the record, my name is Tony Alexander. I was born in Clark County. I am a concerned family member for a student at Clark County School District, and I am also the public policy analyst at Gender Justice Nevada. We are a political activist organization seeking social and economic justice for gender nonconforming persons in Nevada. I speak for everyone at Gender Justice Nevada when I say that we are not here to be confrontational or adversarial. In fact, we desperately seek to be friends and allies of the school board to produce effective change to the non-discrimination policy. It is our strong position that it is currently not protecting or serving the needs of gender nonconforming children that attend school in Clark County School District. With the remainder of my time, I would like to leave the board with 2 simple questions that I would hope are not taken as being rhetorical. What evidence, procedure, or materials does this body require before a meaningful and substantial review of CCSD's non-discrimination policy can occur? What can Gender Justice Nevada do to help this body produce tangible results for gender nonconforming children that are going to school in Clark County School District that face discrimination, bullying, and harassment every day? Thank you very much for your consideration.
Madam President, Superintendent Skorkowski, and members of the board, As a former teacher of the Clark County School District of 26 years and a proud parent of a transgender child, I insist that the school district create a policy that would allow transgender students in every school to have the same experience, regardless of the administration. It is time that the school district takes the time to show these students that they matter. It is imperative that the guidelines are put in place so that the student rights are not being violated. These policies must include bathrooms, locker rooms, and PE. Also, confidentiality must be addressed to ensure the safety of all students. These policies are not an option. Clark County has a responsibility to all students, and to leave these decisions up to administrators is not acceptable, as they may be choosing based on their own personal beliefs. It is important to me and my child that educators have staff development regarding transgender youth. It is no longer acceptable to pretend that these students do not exist, as when I question many educators about a transgender student, what I come up with is, oh yes, we have lots of them, as they're referring to our gay population. We have no concept of what a transgender student really is. The school district has a responsibility to provide and provide safe experiences for every student. It is time Clark County takes responsibility and provides a safe policy that stands up for our kids, because they are worth it. It was interesting to me when we came up and saw the presentation that they were giving about mental health and suicide. I'm sure that most of you are unaware that just today 3 transgender children killed themselves because of being silenced and feeling defeated. So it is important, this is an important topic for me, and I think it's an important topic for you, because these children are not going away. And regardless of what may be perceived, there are between 10,000 and 25,000 unidentified transgender youth in your schools right now. So we need to do something to help these students to become who they need to be. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Mrs. Bayard. Aubriana Bayard?
Hello, my name is Aubriana. I am 13 years old and I am transgender. I attend Mannion Middle School. I have been bullied and suffered in silence for many years. I can no longer pretend to be someone who I am not. I have been transgender since I was able to speak. At the age of 3, I told my mom I was a boy, and I wanted to wear boy clothes. I have dressed as a male since that day. I have a huge fear of rejection from my peers, but can no longer live this lie. It is difficult to deal with people who are uneducated about transgender people. Many of them are afraid or angry just by my existence. I think if people were educated about me, they might not be as afraid and more willing to accept who I am. Teachers and support staff need to have some training to help them get a better understanding of who I am. Is all I'm asking is to be treated like everyone else. I wish to be a freshman this year, and I just want to have the best high school experience possible. I think if the school district would accept and understand that we exist and create policies, this would help us navigate through the school system. It would be awesome. We are just people who want to live normal lives, and give us the chance. We are well worth it.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Aubriana. Laura Hernandez.
My name is Laura Hernandez. I'm the parent of a transgender child in the Clark County School District. I'm here because my child has been harmed by administrators, teachers, and staff due to CCSD's lack of policy and training regarding transgender students. I expect trans-specific policy that follows state and federal law and which respects and empowers trans youth and their families while supporting the education of non-trans youth to feel comfortable in going to school with their transgender peers. My experience with this school district has been very difficult. I have struggled with 2 middle schools to secure my child the rights that she is due under the law. I'd like each of you to imagine what it would feel like when you're going about your day to be so filled with anxiety every time that you need to use the restroom that you would just rather hold it all day long and not go. Or can you imagine how it would feel to have your colleagues call you by the wrong name or use the wrong pronouns with you every day, regardless of how many times you ask or how much it upsets you? The absence of policy outlining how schools are required to accommodate gender nonconforming and transgender students leaves the burden of navigating through the transition on the parent and the child, who are already struggling. Schools need to be prepared to support and guide families with a transitioning child so that all students feel safe in schools. Often administration and staff are well-meaning and want to help, but they are unable to take action because of the lack of clear guidelines. The vast majority of people are not educated on issues involving transgender people. Ignorance leads to fear, and decisions made in fear can never be just and often hurt those that are already the most marginalized. As Superintendent Skorkowski has emphasized during his administration, we expect responsible CCSD leaders to support sex-gender justice for every student in every classroom, no exceptions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Ms. Hernandez. Christina Hernandez, please.
Hello, my name is Christina. I am 12 years old and I am transgender. I was assigned male at birth, but have always identified as female. My experience in school has not been easy. Throughout the journey of my transition, I have experienced many types of discrimination from administrators, staff, and teachers because the school district does not have any policies in place to protect transgender students. I was not allowed to use the girls' facilities at my middle school. I had to run across the campus to the nurse's bathroom and be late for my next class every time that I had to use the restroom. After a while, I stopped eating and drinking at school to avoid having to go. I had to beg, plead, and fight for months just to be allowed to be called by my chosen name and pronouns in class. I had to be the one to explain myself and my situation to substitute teachers, lunch ladies, and support staff because my school did not protect me. This is why I stand here before you to ask you for transgender discrimination policy in our school district and training for administrators and staff. It is your responsibility to make sure that all students are safe in school. You are failing me. Just because there is no policy in place does not mean that the school district is not breaking the law every day. Title IX clearly states that a person cannot be discriminated against because of their gender identity. I am not a predator. I am not going to school to hurt any other students. I just want to have all of the same opportunities as any other girl. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Christina. Sadie James, please.
Hello, I am not Sadie James. My name is Jasper. I attend a middle school in the Clark County School District, and I am 13 years of age. I am a normal kid who happens to be a transgender person. I am sick and tired of being scared of my identity being invalidated at school. I'm sick and tired of being scared of somebody accidentally outing me in front of the wrong people. I'm sick and tired of getting a headache over wondering which bathroom I should use, since I would feel gravely uncomfortable in the girls' room but scared for my safety in the boys'. That should not happen, especially in a school setting. I am afraid of being who I am. On one of the first days of the school year, 7th grade, I requested for my science teacher to refer to me as Jas. I thought it would be gender neutral enough for people not to question me, but it apparently was not. A girl who sat next to me asked if I was one of those weirdos who wanted to be a boy. I felt a sink in my stomach. Only 2 of my friends and 2 of my teachers willingly and consistently call me Jas, the closest I can get to Jasper. I have experienced discrimination within my school. That is unacceptable. I expect, as a student in Clark County, for teachers to teach and even encourage gender exploration and diversity. Cisgender boys and girls matter, so why don't I, as well as my transgender and gender nonconforming friends? Thank you for your time.
Thank you very much, Jasper.
Thank you, Madam President, Superintendent Skorkowski, and members of the board. My name is Theo Eldor. I have been teaching high school science in Clark County School District for the last 2 years, and I am transgender. I want to share an experience with you from a staff development day last May. While we discussed different types of diversity, one of my colleagues mentioned gender diversity. I was pleasantly surprised when the CCSD facilitator mentioned that one of the biggest challenges we currently face in our district is how to best meet the needs of our transgender youth. But my heart sank as some of my colleagues began to speak up. In my disbelief, their words seared into my mind and my heart. If a boy thinks he's a girl, can't he just use the men's restroom until he's 18? He can't do anything about that until he's legal, right? What if they confuse the normal students? If we let boys use the girls' bathroom, won't they just lie so they can see naked girls? The comments went on. I watched as dissenting colleagues said nothing. I watched as my administration said nothing. I watched as I said nothing, guilty and ashamed of who I am. And I knew in that moment that if nothing changes, I will never feel safe in school, and neither will students like me. I am here today breaking my silence, and I implore you to break your silence as well, and officially enact transgender inclusive policy, so that thousands of transgender and gender nonconforming students no longer have to suffer in silence in our district. Your job is to protect our students and to create a safe environment. You must stop ignoring those responsibilities. As Superintendent Skorkowski has emphasized during his administration, we expect responsible CCSD leaders to support sex-gender justice for every student in every classroom, no exceptions. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Theo.